So, is there a meat shortage this summer? What's the deal?
The system that we're talking about, the industrialized meat system where 99% of the meat is produced in this country, is broken.
Heading into Costco, let's see, is there any truth to the 2020 meat shortage? Is there such a thing? Let's get the latest. See what they got on the shelves. So is there a meat shortage? It's kind of interesting. That's what it looked like when I went into Costco the other day. And we only get little bits of information on the news because it's national news and not given a whole lot of time to individual stories. But there was a time where one of the Tyson plants was shut down. There was a time when some of the meat was only available in limited quantities at Costco. So I decided to talk to, actually I was going to talk to a couple people anyway, and I just had a chance to get on with James Peisker of Porter Road, one of the founders of Porter Road Butchers, and also with Louis Mata from Meat and Bone, another online butcher, and they both had a little bit different takes on the so-called shortage. I'm going to start with James because he had such great insight, and his insight was really well thought out as well. He basically says that the system's broken, as you heard him say a second ago. So I want you to hear what he has to say, and then we'll check in with Louis about 10 minutes in, but some really good insight about basically the meat system.
Business has always been good. It's always been going up, which is nice. But, the lack of the ability to go out to eat made people cook at home more. And I think COVID-19 got people starting to think more about where they're sourcing their food from, how they're eating, their safety, their health. It was kind of an eye-opener across the board, which led people to Porter Road because we've been screaming from our soapbox that, the system's broken, and this whole catastrophe kind of just opened back up the curtains and showed everybody. This didn't break the system. The system had been broken. It was just tooting along, and nobody cared to notice because we didn't have to.
Yeah, actually for your business, it almost seems like a perfect storm because not only do you have people hold up, you have people questioning the sources of their food, and kind of what you guys are all about.
Yeah, I mean, we were fortunate to be in the right place at the right time. We have stuck to our path. Chris and I, what Porter Road was founded on over a decade ago hasn't changed. It's just led more people to us, opened up more people's eyes. And, people always look at me funny when I say I own a meat business and I think people should eat less meat. And people are like, well, that doesn't make sense. But people need to eat less meat. We overconsume with the products we shouldn't eat, and we need to eat a higher quality product when we do.
From the regular guy out there, I just hear clips as a barbecue fan, hear fleeting clips on nationwide TV where they don't get to explain any sort of meat shortage, and I hear about it. What's the real deal, and is it a nationwide shortage, or where is this going to go, and is there a solution to it?
Yeah, I mean that's a very big, loaded question. So the system that we're talking about, the industrialized meat system where 99% of the meat is produced in this country, is broken. And that, that's what led Chris and I to where we're going and what we're doing and why we started Porter Road. The system is broken because it is all about the efficiencies and doesn't have any care or regard for anything else in it. It's all based on the bottom dollar, and that is it. Because of that situation, we have consolidated and concentrated the slaughterhouses across the country. They've only gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. There's one facility in this country that produces 5% of the pork that is eaten daily. One facility. That is mind-boggling. And that is efficient, and I'm sure that is incredibly profitable for the people that own it. But it causes a whole bunch of issues that create all of these problems that we're starting to see now. It is incredibly efficient, but it is efficient at other costs. And that is at the cost of the workers, at the cost of the animals, at the cost of the health and the safety of it. And we've become accustomed to letting down our guard to get things cheap or free. And we've done that with the food that we consume as well. People look at products like Porter Road and they're like, why are you so expensive? That shouldn't be the question you're asking. It should be, how is the other stuff so incredibly cheap? And it's because it's at the environmental cost that we as taxpayers are coming and paying for in the end. It's about the animal welfare that we turn a blind eye to every day. And it's about the cost of taking advantage of poor and minority people that work at these facilities that can't speak out. Some of these facilities speak over 50 different languages. If that person's working in an unsafe environment, that person's getting harassed by management, who are they going to go to? How are they going to explain that to somebody who doesn't speak one of their languages that they go to? All of this has happened over the consolidation of the industry, which is now we have 4 main companies that control over 80% of the meat we consume in this country. That's happened over large corporations coming in, large corporations starting to take over. And now what we think of as the American farmer is almost extinct nowadays, because now a lot of these hog houses and these chicken houses that you're hearing that are euthanizing 10, 20, thousands of animals out of each house are owned by these large corporations that don't necessarily care about the land, the farm, or the community they're in. So it's over decades of policy that has, started back in the mid 20th century, where, the director of agriculture, Earl Butz, said, "Get big or get out." And that was his mantra. We need big farms. We need to produce more food. And then around the 70s and 80s, it got to the point where we were producing so much that we were overfeeding ourselves. And we've all seen the outcome of that. We're all a little bigger than we need to be because we have the ability. It's the whole system is broken because it's about eating more and producing more. And that system came to a screeching halt. And because it was all about speed, all about efficiencies, all about profitability, it fell flat on its face. Where if we had to slow down, our animals are out on pasture. They're going to be fine. They're going to continue to exercise. You're not going to be forced to run out of pen space because you just move them to a different field or a different forest that they can run into. You just don't feed them as much. But these animals that have been, pumped full of antibiotics to help them grow, pumped full of growth hormones to help them grow, they can't survive past their slaughter rate. Their bones can't keep up. They're going to have heart attacks. And all of these things, for the sake of efficiency, are catching up with us and hitting us flat in the face. And I know that was a lot for a question like that, but the system is so far broken that we just expect to get a 69-cent turkey come Thanksgiving, which is mind-boggling because you can't even buy feed corn for 69 cents a pound. So how is that possible? Or why is that possible? But it's because, again, like going down that rabbit hole, it's because it's pumped full of water, it's pumped full of flavorings, it's pumped full of this, and it's grown in an artificial manner and subsidized on the back end that us as taxpayers are ending up paying for. It's a deep question.
Well said, though. I mean, the time is right if you to boil it down, and you probably find yourself talking to just regular Joes every day, backyard cooks, or what do you say to them? Because some of them will be watching a buck and not as concerned about, I've just from learning about your company and some others similar to it, and learning about grass-fed beef, I know some of the benefits. But what would you say to the average guy?
Well, so I think with that, it's not always about the quantity. It's about the quality of what you're doing. And I mean, it holds true to the backyard barbecue smoker. You don't need to have 6 pork butts on your smoker. You know, if you're feeding your family or your family and your neighbor and all that, that one pork butt is a piece, it's a masterful piece of art that you are creating. When you start to try to replicate it and you do it on all this mass scale, it starts to lose its luster. It starts to lose what makes it special, what makes that the thing that we want to strive for and continue to go for. You know, like doing a brisket. I love smoking briskets. They're big hunks of meat, 10, 12 pounds. You know, I need to line up my friends that I'm feeding. I need to line up. But then, you know, I take it, I cut off a piece that I know that is destined for my slice throughout the week. I cut off the point that is going to go into chili, that gets wrapped up, that goes into the freezer. I cut off my little bits, those go back on the smoker for more burn ends. You know, like all of those type of things. Being able to utilize a chicken. Chicken shouldn't be as cheap as it is. Chicken should be something that lives out. It scratches, it eats worms, it hangs out with its bird friends, all that good stuff. But a chicken is something that you can make 5 meals out of for 4 people or for 2 people if you do it wisely and you challenge yourself. And to me, that backyard barbecue person is doing all the legwork, but they're cutting themselves short by buying a cheap piece of meat. And a lot of the times, like, you go to big box store and you compare Porter Road online to big box store price. Our product is ready for the smoker. It is trimmed up. It is cleaned up. You know, we have that nice 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch of fat left on top, and it's ready to go. Where, like, you go to the store, beef tenderloin's the best example. Go to the store for the holiday, you go beef tenderloin. That tenderloin you're going to buy is probably half the price, but you're going to end up throwing away over half of it, cleaning the chains and the silver skin and all that other stuff off that goes with it. And then you just wasted all that, because all of that stuff will be utilized at our facility for more products, for ground products, for stew meats, for all these other things. So it's about being a part of it and making sure that you're shopping consciously, because you're doing all the hard work. You're spending your entire afternoon or entire day out by that smoker. Why did you cut the corner when you were sourcing? Why? So I mean, I think it's just about our what we're going for, because you can buy a fancy smoker, big rig $2,000 smoker, but you can also use a barrel that you repurpose for $100. I would rather spend mine in the meat, in the product that goes in.
What is the deal with is there a shortage, and is it affecting your business?
So there is a shortage and there isn't a shortage, right? The first part is, do remember that the U.S. or know that the U.S. is one of the biggest exports of meat in the world. A lot of the pork that we produce gets exported to Asia. A lot of the beef that we produce goes to other countries. So that beef is not going, it's not moving to other countries as fast as it is. So there's going to be plenty of meat. It is true that with COVID, processing has slowed down. So basically, we have the animals, but we don't have anybody to cut the animals. And that's because workers have refused to show up to the plants. One of the things that and I'm pretty passionate about the industry if you get to know me a little bit better, you'll see. So the industry is pretty much consolidated in 4 major players, right? Like Tyson, Swift, all of these guys, IBP. And what happens is, especially on the lower end of a beef, they weren't ready for something like this, right? People are working cramped, they're buried together, employees are lowly paid, they're in the middle of nowhere. So this had a big impact on them. The other part is beef, and meat is a commodity. So basically you had all the purveyors doing their business as usual, selling to steakhouses, selling to supermarkets, placing orders a couple months in advance, speculating. There's a lot of speculating. If I think tenderloins are going to increase in price next week, maybe I'm going to take a position, or next month, maybe I'm going to take a position today and speculate that it's going to go up, and that way I make a little bit more money. That's how it's going on. That's like the truth about the market. And then business suddenly stopped. The cities closed, COVID happened, So you had all these people with tons and tons of meat in the refrigerators and freezers at the big purveyors, and they're like, oh crap, what now? So some of them held to it, and some of them just dumped it. Now they dumped it, and a lot of times the supply chain wasn't ready to stock them back up. So as soon as they dumped all the merchandise, they're not ready to stock back up as fast. So we're in that cycle where it's sort of like peaks and valleys in terms of production. When you talk to a lot of these folks, you see that they are taking the right measures, or they're changing the way their workers work. Like they're not going to be tied together next to each other. Now there's going to be like a barrier between one butcher and the next. So that's kind of it. It will come back. I don't expect the U.S. to run out of meat. What you may see and we're seeing it already, some crazy price fluctuations. Like you see something like a tenderloin it went down 40% and it went back up 35%. And this is in the matter of 3 weeks. So pricing's crazy. That said, it has a bigger impact on the lower end of beef, because that's obviously if something's $1 and it goes to $2, it's massive. If you're talking about, I don't know, G1, certified Angus beef, Wagyu, high grade choice or prime, something that's $25 a pound goes a couple of bucks up, it's not as big of an intake. Now, there are some cuts like briskets, for example, that right now have gone up 45% week over week. They'll slowly come back down. So the challenge is misinformation and lack of information. The news just run with it. Restaurant owners panic and they go on panic buy everything they can. People are panic buying. So this is it makes it unpredictable. And when it makes it unpredictable, it's hard to plan and be consistent. And a lot of the smart folks who are buying and planning how everything should move, they don't really have any data to go with. So if they make a mistake, it reflects on a shortage or an oversupply. So it'll be interesting, but it'll come back. Oh, I think you're muted, Bill.
Yeah, the big TV stations and news only have so much time to talk about it. So they only are able to get out the headline meat shortage or whatever they say. So that's really why I thought the timing was good to actually ask you. And I know y'all's business is going to be different than the butcher shop at Costco. How does your business differ?
So the biggest thing is, so just like I mentioned before, beef is a commodity, right? So you're taking positions, just kind of like the stock market in the mercantile exchange. When you're looking at big businesses like Costco, down here in Florida, you have Publix, even something like Whole Foods. These guys are planning 3 and 4 weeks ahead. So they can't react as quickly as we can, or smaller purveyors or smaller butcher shops can, to changes in supply and demand. So that's why you're seeing Costco limiting how much beef people can take. It's not because they're not going to get any more beef. It's because they want to make sure that they have beef to offer to all their customers. So they're trying to avoid panic buying. And obviously I'm speculating here. I don't have like the inside tracking to Costco, but that's what my read on it. How we differ is basically, as I said, it's a commodity, so it's pricing. Beef, when it comes to beef, chicken, pork, pretty much anything outside of maybe game meats, you are basically getting what you pay for. If a ribeye is $35 in one place and it's $15 in another place, you're not comparing apples to apples for the most part. So that's the thing. The other part where we're going to see a big impact is when it comes to farmers. The farmers are getting hurt, and they're getting hurt bad. I've talked to some. They're dumping. The ones who produce milk are dumping milk. The ones who produce beef are losing money on their cattle. So I think that's going to drive some like crazy price fluctuations in the future. But we're not going to run out of meat.
So there you go. We're not going to run out. It doesn't sound like that, but it does. According to James earlier, the system is broken and things need to change. I definitely thank James and Lewis. Check out both of their businesses, especially right now. They are stocked with meat, and it's high quality stuff at Porter Road and Meat and Bone. They're spelled a little differently, so check out the link in the description box, and more from both those companies. If you want to find out more about Porter Road, I did a video a while back on their meats, and some more coming up about meat and bones soon. For more tips, tricks, other fun stuff, always www.barbecuetricks.com.